Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Mr. John Cornett is standing by in the wings. Howdy, John.
Hi, Paul.
We have some great film clips for you. Tomorrow is the Global Marijuana March in over 300 cities all over the world. In Europe, North America, South America, Asia, and we'll have one in Portland. And I'll be flying out on a red-eye flight shortly after this show to go speak at the Global Marijuana March's Cannabis Parade in New York City, which will be the first time I'll have done that. And I've got some very interesting items to show you, some antique medical marijuana items, so stay tuned for that. We'll be back in just a second. We're going to bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
And here is John Cornett with a brief musical interlude.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, John.
It's by a group called Church. I'm not going to sing it. I'm just going to play the music.
Groovy. That one. All right. Welcome to the show. We are taking your phone calls tonight live. If you have questions about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, then please give us a call at that number there on your screen. It's 288-4442. That's 288-4442. As I said at the top of the show, tomorrow is the Global Marijuana March. You saw our poster there here in Portland, where we sometimes remove the R. We'll have our march starting downtown at the Pioneer Courthouse Square at noon. You want to be there by about 11:30. That's tomorrow at Pioneer Courthouse Square. And we have the cool bus. If you're not able to walk the whole distance, or you are unable to walk at all, you can ride in our biodiesel-powered bus. And we'll be happy to take you along the mile-long march route. If you're like me, I get about halfway through it, and then I hop on the cool bus. That's what I've done the past couple of years anyway. But if you're up to walking the whole thing, well, you can certainly do that as well. We'll have banners. We just ask that you show up at the park before noon, because we'll take off at high noon and start marching down toward the Cinco de Mayo festival, and then up Burnside, and then back to Pioneer Courthouse Square. We'll have speakers and music and some booths with information. So we hope you can come down to the Global Cannabis March. The Portland version is tomorrow at Pioneer Courthouse Square. Now, I'm going to fly out, as I said a moment ago, to New York City and speak at the Cannabis Parade, which was the first of the global marijuana marches. It started back in 1967. And so you can maybe see more about that out there on the internet. I know it's at cannabisparade.org. So if you have a question tonight, again, you call us at 503-288-4442. It's that number there on your screen, 503-288-4442. Did that mean? Okay, we have a film clip. We're going to roll that here in just a moment. And stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Okay.
Join with us and make a big old scene, because if we're all together, we're really loud and they can't ignore us any longer.
It takes everybody here to go out there and to make a difference. Talk to your legislatures, because now they're going to be running for office. They're going to be coming asking you for your vote. And that's, they want your vote. So you're going to have to ask them, where do they stand on cannabis, right? So ask them, where they stand with cannabis.
They're not going to stop us. They're just going to incarcerate us, and it needs to end yesterday.
Marijuana is not going to re-legalize itself. And if you're not registered to vote, then you're not going to be part of making it change.
We need to stop pretending that the drug war is working. We need to stop pretending that DARE is working, because none of them are working. None of them are working. So please do what you can to support ending cannabis prohibition as we know it.
But it's real important to support the OCTA, the I-24, the Sensibles, the whatever that comes upon you for freedom, man, and for what your rights are. I mean, a lot of these, they're so close. They're all on this train. They're different. They're all part of different groups, but they're all on the same train. And they get on that train in the morning, and they cruise forward. And that's what we got to do. Our train in our community is one train, and that's the cannabis train. And we all need to get on the cannabis train and chug a lug for freedom.
Is that where it fades to black? Hi, welcome back. That is the Global Cannabis Parade. And so we have some interesting show and tell items for you tonight. I've got something that I've never seen before. The actual smokable cigarette medicinal product from Paris, France. There it is. This is a tin of cannabis cigarettes from Paris, France. You can see it says it is for asthma, bronchitis, and other maladies. And so that is an interesting product. I have only heard of one before, but I've never really seen one of these before. But you'd back when it was new, and it's about 120 years old, you'd open it up and there would be your cannabis cigarettes for your asthma, your bronchitis. See, it says it's from Paris right there. And cigarettes, it's a little worn, sure, but in high definition and with the big screen TVs, I'm sure you can see it says it's for asthma, even though you might not know French. It says asthma, bronchitis, and other maladies. We have a phone call. Let's go ahead and take that phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Oh, hi. Yeah.
Howdy.
Hi, my name is Marguerite. My husband has terminal cancer, and he's in a really bad shape right now. I mean, it is a lot of pain.
Uh-huh.
We've called the doctor. We read an article just a couple days ago about hemp oil.
Yes.
And we were wondering how he can go about getting that legally.
I'll tell you what. You hold on the phone. There's a guy in here, John. Go take that call. John was just saying, I've got this oil and I need a patient with cancer to give it to. So, gee, I think that'll work out just fine. So stay on the line. I'm going to have a fellow talk to you, and then get a pen and paper, because I'm going to give out a phone number that's going to pop up on the screen here. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us to get we have doctors who can help you get a state permit here in Portland and in Michigan and Hawaii and all over the United States. You just call us. Here in Portland, it's 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. We stream this live on the internet, so it's playing all over the world. If you're watching us from outside of Portland, you can call the clinic to try to find a doctor who can help you get medical marijuana. We have a referral to doctors all over the country. Call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. And we have doctors who'd be happy to help patients in your condition, and so, or your husband's condition. So we wish you the best in that. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at this other number that'll pop on your screen. There it is, 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. So the march is going to be happening in 300 cities around the world, including Argentina and Brazil and Spain and Germany and France and about 70 cities here in the United States. And again, if you are in the Portland area, you want to come down at noon tomorrow to Pioneer Courthouse Square. You want to be there a little before noon, because the march will take off at noon from Pioneer Courthouse Square. And it's a fun march. I'm looking forward to going to my first one in New York City. And if you're watching on the internet, or you know someone in New York City, would you like to come down? I know it's going to meet at 24th Street, right between Madison and Park Avenue, and it will march down Broadway about 12 blocks to Union Square, and then there will be an event at Union Square there in New York City from about 1 o'clock until about 4:30. So if you have friends who are out there watching anywhere in the world, you can tell them to tune in to our show live on Ustream. We stream on the Ustream network, and you can see it at ustream.tv. Just look up Cannabis Common Sense while you're there. They can watch us live streaming right there. We have a couple other items I'm going to show you. I'll just put it right back to where this one is. Oh, here. There. This is an Indian tincture cannabis. Indian cannabis tincture made by Wyeth, a pharmaceutical company that is no longer in existence but was pretty large. They merged with another one back several years ago. And this one is a specific medicine can. Both of these were made circa 1915 to 1920. So these are also antiques, but not quite. They were both for oral administration, where this one is for actually smoking, for use for asthma, glaucoma, bronchitis, and as it says, other maladies. We also have, right over here, another interesting container. This comes, excuse me, from the National Health Institute and National Drug Supervisors. It's manufactured in North Carolina at the Research Triangle, but it's actually grown at Oxford, Mississippi. And there are currently 7 patients here in the United States that can legally have marijuana, and it's provided by the federal government. This one, as it says right on this thing here, went to Irvin Rosenfeld. He is a glaucoma patient in Florida, lives in Boca Raton, Florida, right outside Miami. And he and another lady who lives in Eugene, Oregon, Elvie Masica, and 3 other people here in the United States receive 6 pounds of marijuana a year, one of these tins with 300 cigarettes every month. And so they are authorized, as it says on this, to smoke 10 marijuana cigarettes a day. And Elvie Masica and Irvin Rosenfeld have been doing that for about 30 years now under this federal program that was discontinued by George Bush I back in 1991. But Irvin Rosenfeld and Elvie Masica were on this program prior to that, so they're grandfathered in. When they ended the program, there were about 30 people on the program. Only 5 of them are still alive today, but they don't have any diminished lung capacity. Smoking marijuana for 30 years hasn't caused lung cancer or anything. Both of them use it to treat their glaucoma. And so that's why it's authorized through Florida Eye Institute. Elvie Masica used to live in Florida, but she still works with that clinic down there. Both she and, I think she was arrested in Florida back in like 1981. And she went through a trial. The judge said she needed it medicinally, so the federal government began producing it and providing it to her. First person who obtained it that way was another glaucoma patient by the name of Bob Randall. And Bob Randall had worked for advocating for medical marijuana for many years. He passed away about 10 or 12 years ago. But there's still 5 other patients, Irvin Rosenfeld, Elvie Masica from Eugene, and others who get it medicinally. So there's a little show and tell of some antique containers. And then this one is less than 10 years old. So that is that. So if you have a question about ending marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. You can see we have a poster down there of Mark Emery. He is a fellow who was selling seeds up in Canada. And the federal government went in and arrested him. And the U.S. federal government had him arrested in Canada and then extradited him here to the United States. He was looking at 40 years to life in prison. He was very active in Canada and helped the marijuana legalization movement in Canada and the United States, and was selling marijuana seeds and putting out a magazine called Cannabis Culture. Cannabis Culture now just comes out online. But you can check out Cannabis Culture, and we are advocating that Mark Emery should be freed. He's about halfway through. He took a plea bargain, a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence. He's being held down in the southern part of the United States. His wife has to fly from Vancouver, Canada, once or twice a month to go down and visit him down there. But she continues to maintain the website. They aren't selling the seeds anymore. There are a number of other Canadian companies that still sell marijuana seeds, but they're not among them. And so you can find out more at cannabisculture.com. I think we have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hi. I have a question. I've been fighting Social Security since 2007, and I have GERD, I have gastroparesis, I have severe problems, and they keep coming back. I'm a recovering addict of 22 years of the narcotics painkiller, and I can't take them because of my gastroparesis, but because I'm a recovering addict too.
Sure.
And they keep denying me and denying me and denying me and keep telling me it's because I'm addicted to the medical marijuana. And it's throughout both my cases. I mean, throughout all the pages it says, you know, she says she's in pain, she says she's sick, she says she's nauseous, but she won't, you know, she doesn't want to take the painkiller, she doesn't want to take the nausea medicine, but she'll be addicted to the medical marijuana. And so my question to you was...
How many times have you been denied in applying for Social Security?
Gee whiz. I went to court twice since 2007. And been denied both times, and denied the appeals both times. And now I got another attorney, and he wants me to start another claim again. And each time
it's not unusual for patients, even when they aren't using medical marijuana, to have to apply several times to obtain disability. It's a pretty common practice for people who are genuinely disabled to be denied that. So I recommend you go ahead and file another claim. It'll take years to work through that process again. But just maintain the truth and tell them your condition and argue against the false arguments that have been presented against you.
Yeah, I mean, even my doctors have said, you know, this is the only thing that can help her, and they still keep, say, yeah, she's addicted to the marijuana. That's what what it is. And I was just wondering if you thought that getting hold of Governor Kitzhaber could help me in any manner.
Governor Kitzhaber, unfortunately, is not going to help you in this regard. Governor Kitzhaber has not been a friend of medical marijuana to date. We're very hopeful that he will sign some bills that will add PTSD to the medical marijuana law. It's already passed the Senate. It's going to go before the House this coming week. We're going to depend on him to sign it. But he he signed a bill to recriminalize marijuana back in 1997. And so I have no confidence in that. When he signed that bill to criminalize possession of less than an ounce of marijuana, we had to gather about 90,000 signatures to stop that law from going into effect. And so Governor Kitzhaber has stacked the Oregon Medical Board with doctors who are against medical marijuana as well. So I don't think Governor Kitzhaber is the right person to help you. Perhaps the best person might be U.S. Congressman Earl Blumenauer. He represents us here in Portland. He's an effective federal representative, and he has been in favor of medical marijuana. So I recommend you contact Congressman Blumenauer's office.
Okay. That's what I'll definitely do, because, I mean, basically, they see everything's severe, and I'm 50. I had a heart attack when I was 42. I have stent. I have lots of medical problems, and I took myself off the narcotics myself, and my sister was dying of cancer.
Well, I definitely would not listen to them and go back on those narcotics and pharmaceuticals. Now that you're off of them, it's going to work out best to stay that way.
Yeah.
So I recommend that you contact U.S. Representative Earl Blumenauer, the U.S. Congressman from Oregon's 3rd District. He represents us here in Portland, and he's been advocating for complete marijuana legalization in the United States Congress. In fact, we have a film clip we're going to roll in just a couple minutes that includes Earl Blumenauer and Boulder, Colorado Congressman Jared Polis talking about the legalization of marijuana in the United States Congress in Washington, D.C., so stay tuned for that.
I sure will. Thank you so very much for talking to me.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good luck. I wish you well in that. It is hard to deal with a disability.
It's been a long battle, but I'm going to keep on going. And
that's all you can do.
That's all I can do, but they can't make me forcefully take their drugs.
No, and I wouldn't. I'm glad you aren't considering that.
No, not at all. I thank you so very much.
All right, you have a good evening.
Day.
Thanks for calling again.
Bye-bye.
And I believe we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Howdy.
Yeah, hi. I have a question about growing and the guidelines of where you can grow at. Like if you live around post office or schools or like courthouses or, you know.
It has to be in a private location and out of public view. So the medical marijuana law allows you to cultivate marijuana. Now, if you're just growing your own personal garden, you don't have to worry about being close to a school as long as you're just growing for 1 or 2 patients. If you're growing for more than that, then you should probably be at least 1,000 feet away from any school. You don't have to worry about a post office or anything else, but if you're just growing for yourself, it doesn't matter. You can be in less than 1,000 feet of a school, but you don't want the smell to be obtrusive, and you want to grow it out of public view.
And I have another question.
Yes.
It's about this concentrated weed. Is it really a vapor? Are you vaping it, or is it truly smoke when you smoke the concentrated weed, which is called wax? Out on
the wax, you can vaporize that, but it can also be smoked as well, or they put it on hot metal in some cases, which is a little bit too much for me. You know, I prefer vapor, and it's doesn't make you cough, and you don't have any of the byproducts of smoking.
Okay, so the
burning.
titanium, even though even though if it puts off a like cloud of smoke, it's still considered a vape, huh?
Well, I can't speak to the specific circumstance. It can be burned or it can be vaporized, either one. But I prefer to use it in a vaporizer myself. But I just like vaporizing the cannabis flowers directly.
Yeah. Now, is it true that the concentrate is a lot more heavier for like tar on your?
No, it has no tar in it when you vaporize it, and it's only when it burns that you have tar. And the wax isn't going to burn very well.
Exactly. If it's heated up too much, it could burn, though.
Yeah,
huh?
if it's heated up, it can burn. If it's heated up over 450 degrees, it's going to burn. And and then there'd be the combustion byproducts like tar and other things that will make you cough more. And that actually, when it burns, it's destroying the active ingredients in cannabis. So when it's vaporized, all the active ingredients in cannabis are just turning into a vaporless cloud, but when it burns over 450 degrees, some portion of it is being formed into combustion byproducts, such as tar and other combustion byproducts, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide.
Wow, so really it's kind of bad to just take these big giant clouds of smoke and digest them. I mean, when people...
Makes you cough. It's if you're coughing your brains out, it's not good for your lungs. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the knowledge that you have given me today. I will take it and, share it with others. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening. Thanks for calling.
You too.
I think we have another caller. Let's take that phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Oh, they're gone. Well, as I said a moment ago, we have a video clip with United States Congressman Earl Blumenauer of Oregon's 3rd District and Jared Polis, Congressman representing Boulder, Colorado. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is from ABC News.
Hi, welcome to Top Line. I'm Olivier Knox with Yahoo News. Joining me is Jeff Zeleny of ABC News. And our guests today are 2 members of Congress who are talking about pot legalization. Congressman Jared Polis of Colorado, Earl Blumenauer of Oregon. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here.
So let's start off sort of easily here. What is it that you guys are trying to do?
I think it's safe to say we're trying to rationalize federal drug policy. For years, the federal government has sort of been behind the curve as states have moved ahead. States moved ahead with decriminalization, with medical marijuana, and now Colorado and Washington with legalization. We're spending too much money on enforcement for something that most Americans think should be legal, and we're losing revenue. And we're going to create a federal train wreck if we don't fix it.
Colorado voters and Washington voters agreed, as do I, that the proper policy with regard to marijuana should be to regulate it rather than ban it. So look at it like other unhealthy controlled substances. Alcohol isn't good for you, tobacco is not good for you, marijuana is not good for you. But fundamentally, there's personal freedom and personal responsibility in this country.
What about the law enforcement argument or the parental argument that says, look, this is a gateway drug perhaps. You legalize marijuana, what's next?
Talk about gateway drugs, let's look at tobacco. This is actually a red herring. Right now, I have not been in any community where people think that junior high students can't get marijuana right now. If we legalize and regulate and we concentrate our energies on a policy that makes sense, we end the hypocrisy and we focus on making sure that it's not in the hands of kids.
The corner drug dealer doesn't care if they're selling to a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old, but when you have a legal regulated business, the liquor store is an example, they're held accountable to the standards of the law and they will lose their license the minute they sell to someone under the age of 21.
So legalizing marijuana, or making it possible to legalize marijuana, and then taxing it at the federal level. Have you guys basically just found a way to make the deficit go up in smoke?
Well,
nice metaphor.
Suffice it to say that we are probably looking at $100 billion swing, moving away from billions of dollars spent in enforcement and incarceration, and billions of dollars to be gained by actually taxing it.
Obviously, Republicans control the House of Representatives. Would you need a coalition of perhaps some libertarian thinkers to pass this?
Well, absolutely. In fact, Jared and I worked in previous Congresses with Barney Frank and Ron Paul, kind of a legislative odd couple. There are a number of Republicans who share this notion. First of all, it's states' rights. And there is a notion of personal freedom and the cost effectiveness.
One thing that's happened in the short time that I've been in Congress is you've seen a big shift on the Democratic side. What used to be a fringe position on the Democratic side has become very acceptable, very mainstream.
Yes! We've also got states like Colorado and Washington that have voted to legalize, and there are a number of Republicans that I think...
But those are two states, and Ron Paul's not here, so who's the new Ron Paul?
Well, I would also point out...
Is there a new Ron Paul?
Well, there's a number of libertarian Republicans in the House. There is a small libertarian core on that side that is at least open to this discussion.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us on Top Line. I'm Olivier Knox of Yahoo News, at @OKnox on Twitter. My co-host, Jeff Zeleny, at Jeff Zeleny. And our guests, Congressman Blumenauer, at Rep. Blumenauer, and Congressman Polis, at Jared Polis. Thanks for watching.
All right. That's a great film clip from ABC News' website that we were able to run there. And it's talking about taxing and regulating cannabis. Both Polis and Blumenauer are in favor of that, been working toward that.
Well, you know, Paul, we had a gentleman.
And by the way, welcome, Casper.
Thank you
got
very
in
much.
here. We had a little mix-up on the to start with, but he's rushed in for the last half of the show.
But watching that reminded me of one of my guests this week talking about how up in Washington now they got all these new tax and regulations that are being put into place by their legislative body. And I know watching the growth there in Colorado, you have to have a clearance to work with the plants. The plants have got to be in front of a camera. Every plant's got a little barcode to it. And with Congress now coming in with new regulation for tax and regulate and gathering taxes, are we going to end up having a barcode on every plant? And
well, they do in Colorado, and they have under the medical marijuana law. I certainly hope we don't see anything like that. Of course, you know, I advocated and tried to pass Measure 80 here in Oregon, which would have allowed people to grow their own without a license or fee or registration. And still we got statewide 47% of the vote. Here in Multnomah County, we got 61% of the vote. In the city of Portland itself, we got 65% of the vote in favor of personal home cultivation of unlimited amounts of cannabis for non-commercial purposes.
But is this going to end up being more difficult? I mean, on the block?
I hope not. I think what we're going to do is we're going to see a number of different states try a number of different models. We'll have to see what the federal government does. Obviously, Blumenauer and Polis are trying to steer them in the right direction. I think it's a good thing we haven't seen a response from the federal government about Washington and Colorado passing those laws yet. I think they're trying to figure up a good program. But if they tried to enjoin or stop the implementation of marijuana legalization under Washington's I-502, which passed last November with 55% of the vote, or Colorado's Amendment 64, which also passed in Colorado with 55% of the vote. If they tried to stop the implementation of that, what they'll see instead is we'll just remove all the state penalties and leave it to the federal government to enforce this law. And they don't have the resources to do that. It's going to be a free-for-all. I think they would rather see it taxed and regulated and the commercial market controlled and benefiting the public good rather than continuing to go into the pockets of the black market.
Well, I'm sure that you mentioned it at the top of the hour in the news, but we got like the 19th
I didn't
state.
get the news today.
Oh, well, we got the 19th state this week to take medical marijuana
Maryland
under its belt.
the governor said he's going to sign it into law, even though he hasn't quite done that yet.
Right, so we got more and more states that are coming on board, and if we're not careful, we're going to end up having such a tightly regulated market that even though it's legal and you can have it, you're still going to want to go down and find it in somebody else's privately grown.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, you know, if it's available in a store, that's going to be pretty easy. But if they don't allow it to grow, you know, in Washington, they don't allow people to grow their own unless they have a medical marijuana permit.
Right.
In Colorado, they do allow people to grow up to 6 plants. So.
We love you in Colorado, really, we do. You people in Washington.
And we have a bill here in Oregon that a number of people have been working on, myself included, but Anthony Johnson and New Approach Oregon and the Oregon Cannabis Coalition and National Cannabis Coalition
Great group of
have
people.
been putting it forward. It's House Bill 3371.
3371.
In fact, we have a historic session here in Oregon in our legislature with Senate Bill 281 has already passed the Oregon Senate by 18 to 12.
Nice.
And that would allow patients with PTSD, veterans that are suffering from that, and other people who have post-traumatic stress to use medical marijuana under Oregon's medical marijuana law as well. There's a bill out there that might allow dispensaries to open up and operate. It's already passed through one committee. And then we have one I like the best, Senate Bill, House Bill 3371, which would completely legalize it. Now, what we anticipate is that if that does make its way through the legislature, and we've got about 2 months to go, it will be referred to the general election ballot in November of 2014, which means we won't have to circulate an initiative, pay $500,000 to put something on the ballot. But if the legislature does not pass House Bill 3371, we will be circulating an initiative later this summer and attempt to put an initiative on the ballot to completely legalize it in November 2014. Well, you know what? We have a phone call. Let's go ahead and take the call. We'll be back just a second with your next question, Casper. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
How are you? Did you want to say something?
Hello.
Yeah. This is Dale Forbes. I have a couple of questions.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. I just got out of the hospital myself. Met you, Paul, 10 years ago.
I'm still at it.
I got in trouble like you did and met Paul Loney and all that and got through that. Well, now I got this leukemia last November.
Oh, no.
And I've been fighting through that, having problems with the medications and all that. And the Social Security, Medicaid, and like you say, you just have to keep reapplying.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm also wondering where I could get some babies. I got 2 for free over on Prosser, and I'm just striking out here, and I'm getting better. I want to get my garden going. And I want
there are a lot of different places out there all over town that are offering them. I can't recommend any specific ones, but getting them for free, most of those places want to charge you some money, but right at this time of the year, believe me, demand exceeds supply when it comes to babies, because everybody wants to get them outdoors so they don't have to. Now's the perfect time to put them outdoors before the summer season. And so I recommend you just check out the dispensaries that are out there. You can find them by going to weedmaps.com.
Weedmap.com.
Yeah, weedmaps.com. And there's a lot of them out there.
I'm working on that. I've been so sick, I haven't been able to get out very much.
I understand. Yeah, leukemia is a hard one to fight. And you can
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wish you the best, and our prayers and best wishes are with you there.
Well, thank you so much. I got one more treatment this next month, and I might be better after that, or I might have to get the bone marrow transplant. But I'm doing the best I can to hang in there.
Uh-huh.
So I'll just keep trying.
Keep trying. If you have, you want to call and leave a message, we can try to counsel you more directly where we're not on television with however many tens of thousands of people are watching. You can call us here in Portland at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. You'll leave a message right now, but somebody will get back to you either Saturday or early next week.
Okay.
All right. Best of luck to you.
All righty. Well, that sounds good. Appreciate it. And
You're
I've
welcome.
been doing this for many years, but with this brain chemo, I'm kind of losing it.
It's, it affects your cognitive function, your brain function when you're going through that chemotherapy. So just try to be safe. Don't drive around, and keep thinking good thoughts. And I would use cannabis in conjunction with that chemotherapy. That's going to help it. All right. Have a good evening. So, Casper, did you want to say anything?
I do. I have another question that only you can answer, because we never get an answer from these people. Is like, we got these 19 states now that have medical marijuana, and Washington, D.C., hello, where it's legal, right?
Right.
And apparently in California, they are still doing raids. What's up with that?
They sent out
Why?
a series of letters up in Washington State as well. You know, they sent these letters out in California and in Washington telling these dispensaries that if they've got 30 days to close, or the federal government come in and charge them with conspiracy, seize their property, and all of that. So I know a lot of those dispensaries are just going to move.
But why? Why are they doing this?
It's kind of
The
a
war's
schizophrenic. They don't know that yet. In fact, they don't want it to be over. So they're going to do everything. The drug agents who depend on marijuana prohibition for their livelihood and their income and their black market bribes and all of that, they don't want it to be over. They want to keep the gravy train rolling. So
you mean
they're
there's
the
people
ones
out there that want to put other people behind bars for shits and giggles so they can have a paycheck, not because it's right or wrong, Paul?
I guess so. Casper. Anyway, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4442. I'm going to go through this show and tell again. I have a couple new items to show.
Oh, we got a question.
Oh, we have an audience member who has a question. Go right ahead.
Just a real quick one, Paul. Just to remind everybody at the Million Marijuana March tomorrow, there'll be 50 signs, I guess, to the first 50 lucky people who show up and want to tote a sign with a little stick attached to it. And you can also bring drums and stuff, and pots and pans. Granny's out there. Grab a pot, pan, and a big spoon.
So bring your own pot?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Excuse me. Yes, sir. You betcha.
All right. Well, thank you. That's great. I want to show a couple of things. A studio audience member came over with a couple of different vaporizers for concentrates. And so the way this works is, with this one, you open it up. There's a little chamber in here, and you put the concentrate in there. Then you hold down this button, and the button, as you see, lights up blue. And there's nothing in it right now, but darn.
Wait,
but
I can change that.
You no.
All right.
You have a concentrate? No, never mind. We light that up, and then you just inhale, and that works. And this is another one. It's also a vaporizer. This one, you hold the button down, and it lights up green down here on the bottom.
Cool.
Isn't that's kind of? It's called the doobie.
Also, you can vape and find your
You can
keys
dupe and make
the
people
dark.
think you're smoking a cigarette, because it
cool.
kind of looks like a cigarette,
Really,
doesn't
your
it?
cigarette
It's an
glows
electronic cigarette. You know, they're advertising those now. So you open it up, and your concentrate fits into this little unit here. You can see this is pretty oily here. It looks like a big gooey drop of it's ready to
Dude,
fall
that's
off there,
cool.
you know. So
Why'd you leave that on by accident?
I don't know.
Next roll in, we'll check it out.
So you put that on there, and it heats up, and you hold down this. Let's see if I can orient it properly. Hold down this and just inhale. Now, we're in a public access television studio, so of course I can't do this on the air. But maybe we'll tape it and show various types of vaporizers that are out there. But here's just a couple that you can vaporize some of those extracts, both the oils. I think this one in particular is mainly for waxes, where this one works better with oils. So there you have it. Anyway, we also have, as you saw a moment ago, this nifty cannabis tincture bottle from about 1915 from Specific Medicines. And we have this one here, Indian cannabis from the Wyeth Pharmaceutical Company. It's a fluid extract. Then here from Paris, France, we just got this one in this week, and it's only the first one I've seen in person and the second one I've ever seen where it's actually smokable cigarettes from 1890. And as you can see, cigarettes, Indians, it says cannabis indica right under there. It says it's for asthma, bronchitis, and other maladies. And then right next to it, we have this container from Irvin Rosenfeld. This is from the federal government. You can see that it was manufactured in 1996. Contains about 300 marijuana cigarettes from the National Institute Against Drug Abuse. And let's see, it was grown in 96, but it was distributed in 2004. So it was about 8 years old when the federal government gave it out. Wow. That's bogus. They're giving out stale old cannabis.
That's what you buy in
Not
Indiana.
a good thing.
Well, that's what you buy.
Well, they grow it at their marijuana farm at Oxford, Mississippi. And these patients get the bad stuff. The drug agents keep the good stuff for themselves. Right over here, we have a book by one of our heroes, Mr. Gatewood Galbraith. He's the one who taught us about the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, fascist sons of a bitches that brought us marijuana prohibition. You can see this is autographed by Gatewood. We lost Gatewood about a year and 4 months ago, year and 5 months ago. Here's another lost author who's been on this show as well, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Now, I recommend you read this book. This is, I think, the 14th edition of The Emperor Wears No Clothes. One of our helpers got Jack Hare to autograph this at our Hempstock Festival. So this was actually written in Portland. This is a first edition copy of this. This was written in Portland. This first edition was put together in my home here in Portland, River City, back in 1985 and 1986. And I am in the dedication of this. I have a number of them, but we've got to thank ICO for bringing these neat collectible books in to show them to you tonight.
ICO brought a lot of antiques into the show tonight.
Yeah.
Me included.
Yeah.
And these 300 joints, unless I'm mistaken, that's approximately what Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg smoked on Willie's birthday.
Probably so. That's probably true. And you know, it was just Willie's birthday a few days ago. This is the 3rd of May, but Willie's birthday was on the 30th of April.
Oh, so that means he's just not coming down from the party.
No, he's out on the road again, going to another city all around the West and Midwest. We do have a phone caller who's been standing by, though. We've only got about 10 minutes to go. Let's bring that phone call in. Welcome to the show, caller. Oh, that person hung up.
Well, I have a question. What's going on with these people who just needed a second doctor's opinion and in the process had family services come in and rape from their arms their babies?
You're talking about this Idaho couple.
Yes. It is just god-awful. People needing medication and needing to do proper care for their loved ones, and the state decides that they know better.
It's evil. It's evil. You know,
So
it happens all over, not just in Idaho. These people are just being very vocal and getting their message out there, and that's a good thing. But, you know, it's not uncommon and for people who are giving birth, women who are giving birth here in town, to be drug tested and be confronted with a positive marijuana test. And if you do, the Child Services Division will come in. I'm sure hundreds of mothers out there watching this have been through this hell. It is torture, and they shouldn't be doing that, because what they're testing for, these metabolites, have no adverse effect and don't cause anyone to be high because it's already been metabolized. It's not getting the baby high. In fact, when babies drink mother's milk, the colostrum that flows before the mother's milk has endocannabinoids in it that could cause babies to test positive for marijuana once they start breastfeeding. So because the endocannabinoid anandamide is found in this colostrum, and it gives the baby the munchies, which makes them want to breastfeed more.
I understand that.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, but
I also
unfortunately, these drug agents and child services people don't.
I also saw that the senator of Hawaii has turned a deaf ear to our friend Roger Christie. How come?
You know, the whole Senate was ready to pass a bill, and one senator in particular, H-E-E, stopped a resolution going through. There's this fellow being held in jail in Hawaii. He hasn't been allowed to have a trial. He's been held for 3 years. He's being held without bail. His name is Roger Christie, and he never had any weapons. He had nothing to do with minors. It's his first offense. When he was arrested, he was 61. He's 64 now. They keep delaying his trial, trying to force him to take a guilty plea, but he is going to make a religious defense for the use of cannabis for spiritual purposes in conjunction with his church. Of course, the federal government's doing everything to pressure him not to do that, but he's a very positive person. I email him through the federal government's email system. I exchanged a couple emails with him this week. I also did an interview with a Hawaii AM station, KGU 760 AM, that plays throughout the Hawaii Islands, talking about Roger Christie. And I will be back live in the studio on Tuesday on KGU. It's at 5 o'clock Hawaii time, which is 8 o'clock Oregon time, or 11 p.m. New York time. So yes, I will be in New York at the Global Marijuana March on Saturday, but I will be in Hawaii doing this interview and seeing patients on Wednesday in Honolulu.
How do we keep up with you?
I'm going to take a bunch of red-eye, at least 2 red-eye flights this weekend.
My brain split.
It's a blessing just to be able to help patients. That's all I can say.
You know,
Casper, you do a radio show, and you're going to have Steve Hager of High Times Magazine, and I will be joining you on Thursday, but you have different co-hosts each day of the week. You want to tell our audience about time for him?
Because what I think is so remarkable about the show is not only the guests, but the joint hosts. They bring so much to the table. On Mondays, we have Mary Lynn Mathery.
Get it? Joint host? Ha-ha. Nudge, nudge.
There you go. And Mary Lynn Mathery and Al Burns, from Patients at a Time, bring doctors and lawyers that are dealing with...
Indian chiefs.
And Indian chiefs that are dealing with patients who are needing their medications and can't legally access them. And they have researchers that join us for the show as well. And occasionally we do have a patient who is out of time come on and give some message to the movement before they leave us. On Tuesdays, we have KDK distributor founder Kelly Kristen from Canada, who is on the show as a joint host. And we have a joint conversation with people up in Canada, or as I say, Canada, who are working hard to end prohibition in their neck of the woods. Wednesday, Peter Chris, co-founder of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, LEAP, LEAP.cc is their website. He's on with me every Wednesday.
I know there will be LEAP speakers at the Eugene Global Marijuana March tomorrow. There's a LEAP speaker at the New York City Cannabis Parade tomorrow as well. And LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, those are some of our strongest advocates in this war, because they've been on the losing side with law enforcement much too long and seen the real harms that this war on drugs has caused.
They sure have. And when he brings on judges and police chiefs and people who have been dealing with the prison industry from the point of view as guards and people who indoctrinate prisoners, it is really interesting from their point of view to hear how they feel that the war on drugs is an absolute abysmal failure. And then on Thursday, I got a very good friend of mine who's very bright in the movement as a joint host. His name is Paul Stanford. He has a little groovy TV show called Cannabis, Common Sense, that I am the joint host of on Friday night. So we focus on what's going on in America.
We used to call it a co-host, but now you're the joint host.
Thank you. And then on Fridays, we have Michael Krawitz. Hi, Michael. I know you like to watch the show when you get a chance. And we do what we call...
He's in Virginia, by the way, most of the time.
And he's right there in the belly of the beast, I think.
He helped get the Veterans Administration to allow their doctors to allow chronic pain patients to test positive for marijuana. So if you live in a medical
That's right.
marijuana state and you're a veteran going to the veterans hospitals or clinics, because of Michael Kravitz, you can now use medical marijuana because of his work there.
And people who deal with the military know what a encumbering beast that moves so slow it is. So for Michael to make that type of radical change within the military was quite an accomplishment.
So you also have a Twitter account that you put out about 20
I do.
tweets. You're a tweeter.
I'm a tweeter.
Day. You put out 20 or
I'm a
30
tweeter. If
tweets
you check
a
my
day
Twitter account, we got about
with the latest
10,000 people
news.
that check me out now each
Yeah.
day. 10,000 people.
And the website for Time for Hemp?
Time4hemp.com. And you can also find us on iTunes. We got 4 podcasts that you can find up there.
Every
Time
week?
for Hemp Music and Time for Hemp Today podcast.
All right.
So
Well,
I'm a
we're
busy
out.
little marijuana activist.
You are, as am I. And I want to remind you that if you or a loved one need a doctor anywhere in this United States, we have doctors all over the country who can help you get a medical marijuana permit so you can be a legal medical marijuana patient in your state. You can call us toll free at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, just dial 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. We're going to go out. We got about a minute left for John Cornett to serenade us yet again. Thank you, John. Thank you, Casper.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, viewers. And remember, help us restore hemp. See you next week. Woo!